I make music for a living. I'm a music producer, but am I a musician? I mean, I can play a little bit of guitar and piano, but for the life of me, I'm absolutely not a musician. Hey, what's up? This is Laidback Luke, DJ and producer, and I feel like I'm going to break some boundaries today. It might be controversial. Now let me tell you about my story in beat matching. I used to play techno with SL1200's turntables using the classic technique of riding the pitch fader. And what this is that the pitch fader is never truly set. When one track is playing, you'll just adjust the next track only by using the pitch fader to ride and match the BPM. This had a couple of main advantages. For instance, you'd be able to mix in the next track really fast because you didn't need to wait until you had found the right pitch fader setting before mixing. And because there was no master tempo or key lock back in the day, correcting your track sounded quite smoothly by only using the pitch fader. Back in the day on vinyl, you weren't able to see any BPM. You could only hear it if it was matching or not. And so after learning how to DJ on turntables, this was about a good 2 years. It took me yet another 2 years to be able to perfect this technique just by playing as much as I could in my studio, but also at shows. By the end of the 2 years, I was DJing live with 3 turntables, and riding the pitch became a very natural and instinctive technique for me. Transitioning to CDJs and with DJing becoming more and more digital, I kept on hearing about this technique that had a certain percentage of sliding the pitch fader up or down, and this would add or decrease your song's BPM exactly. Say in increments of 1 or 2 BPMs. DJs deciphered this formula and were using it to beat match faster. I still, for the life of me, have never used that technique, and so if you know it and you remember it, feel free to post it below so others can see. I was and have absolutely been fine with my pitch fader technique and just catching the BPM by ear, always. So the CDJs developed further and we finally got a readout of the BPM on the actual player. And so how easy is it to just slide the fader up or down, match the BPM by sight, and then get into the mix? I'm sure a lot of you that are watching right now are doing it that way, right? Because why not? Even on this beautiful, beautiful Denon DJ setup, I've never done that, as I really love beat matching and I love the art of beat matching, even when I'm right there in the mix. Even though there's a beautiful sync button on the players as well, I've only used it a couple of times just to test it out and was never happy with it, as I thought it sounded unnatural, and I always enjoyed listening to my heroes back in the 90s who were adjusting the BPM, catching the beat on the fly, and then I, the listener, was riding along with them. I have quite the romance attached to it. Now, before I throw my soul away and talk to you about why I think sync is not a sin anymore, let me talk to you from my producer side. I make music for a living. I'm a music producer, but am I a musician? I mean, I can play a little bit of guitar and piano, but for the life of me, I'm absolutely not a musician. Making music with the help of a computer was my savior. I don't believe that without the computer, I'd actually be able to be in a band and go on tour, for instance. Where I'm going with this is what was always appealing to me about making music with a computer was the technical and futuristic edge to it. With help of technology, I was able to advance, and that's still my mindset. And that's why I actually switched to Denon, because of the superior technology. That's why I am incorporating Algorithm's DJ Pro AI app into my setup now, because of the technological advancement. That is why we don't have typewriters anymore, or video recorders, or CDs, wow, Walkmans, because of technological innovation. And on the other hand, with big respect, most of the techno DJs out there have long evolved from beat matching. They were the first ones that started to actually lose the whole concept of a jog wheel and a pitch fader all together and just use a tractor setup and having 4 decks run on the computer at the same time without ever touching a pitch fader, giving the performer more space to work on the fly edits, crazy effects, build-ups, but also to have a bit of mental space to pick out the best possible next track. We also have the Ableton DJs and performers who from day one never needed to beat match. Even in turntablist land, there's big DJs out there that use sync. Of course, they can beat match, but since it's a technological feature, why not utilize it? And so that lands me here. It actually dawned on me seeing how huge the BPM is on these Denon screens. Why wouldn't I just be setting the pitch fader so that it would match by sight? But moreover, the awesome sounding sync on the DJ Pro AI app pulled me into it. It is quite the natural sounding algorithm, not an algorithm pun. A natural sounding algorithm they have in place for it. At first I didn't want to submit, and so what I'm currently doing most is I'll load a new track in, hit the sync button very quickly on and off, and to then find my track has the right BPM set. But then sometimes I just leave it on, and I truly like the mental headspace it gives a classically trained DJ like myself, where I don't need to constantly worry if a track is going out of sync because, well, it won't. And there's this old anxiety sitting with me that stems from tracks running out of sync while in the mix, while doing tricks, while throwing in effects. It's an angst accumulated over the 25 years that I've been DJing professionally now. And with one press of a button, it's gone. So this right here is not a decision yet. It's an observation. It's a discussion. It's a question. In 2022, should DJs still be matching by ear? How important is the ability to actually be able to beat match? And since we have the sync button, why not use it? I'd happily open the floor in the comments below and see how the followers of my age and beyond respond to my young followers. And I'm very curious to see where all of this sits with you. And so in the near future, if you catch me playing with sync, I'd like for you to think about what I've reflected on in this video and possibly the discussion below. Because one of the angles and worries could be, well, what's the difference between the auto mix on the streaming platforms? How would you still be able to put your character and your taste into a mix? Or more controversial one, is beat matching truly that big of a deal in this day and age? For the love of the art and the craft, I've done an actual vlog on how to learn how to beat match. You can find it down below. But let all of this marinate a little bit. I'll do the same, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you have to say. I was Laidback Luke, and I'm excited to catch you back here for the next vlog. Until then, L's up.